your host. Welcome. This is episode 29 and I am from West Yorkshire. Welcome. This is a podcast about knitting and spinning, sometimes sewing or sometimes cross-stitching, but I haven't done that since last Christmas. So if you're here for that, it's probably not going to happen very soon. But welcome. I am glad to be back. I kind of meant to record a couple of weeks back and I did an episode and there was a bit of failure on my computer's part. When I'd put over the video, for some reason there was an error attached to my video. I then couldn't transfer it into my editing software and there began a wasting of about 3 hours of my entire weekend, so I wasn't too impressed by that and I decided not to film again. So I figured I'd wait until later on. So I'm back, 3 weeks. I forgot to say, if you want to find me, I am on Ravelry as Killtocraft and I am now also on Instagram as Killtocraft. I changed my name from Nessa Townley to Killtocraft. If you are already following me, that change will have just automatically happened. So if you want to tag me in anything in future, I am as Killtocraft on all platforms, and you can find the podcast group, which is the Killtocraft Podcast, where I post show notes, and I'm also now making myself do the transferring of show notes onto the blog before I even leave my computer, because updating them all in an evening and going over and trying to publish them as previous posts is a little bit of a pain when you've got a backlog of maybe 10 episodes. So anyway, welcome. A lot of you will know that I've had a little bit of a rough week last week with some bad news, but I'm not going to share that with you today, just because I'm not ready really to speak about it. So I'm going to get straight onto knitting rather than dawdle with that topic. So I have loads of finished objects. Well, I say loads. I've got 2 pairs of socks and I've got a pair of mittens. For the socks, I am going to go into Nessa of the past, which were 5 minutes ago, and I've recorded two little videos showing you the socks actually in wear for you as a little bit of something different. So I will share those with you now. I wanted to share my FOs with you today, especially my socks, whilst they were actually on my feet. So these are my High Heart Bee socks. The yarn is actually by Fibre Spates. I believe I told you Posh Yarns, which is incorrect. I hadn't realised because I'd had this in my stash for so long, and when I looked at my this is quite a good colour representation at the minute, and now the light's changed. I'm back again. But basically I thought it was a Posh yarn. It's actually Fibre Spates when she did indie dyeing, and this is Sheila sock, and you can see all the large amount of sparkliness going on in the socks. You can see my honeycombs, really nicely formed. I have partridge heel and gusset, the decreased toe, which is also grafted, 1x1 twisted rib with tubular cast on, and they've come out really nice and I'm really happy with them. I don't think Lincoln's too impressed that I'm sharing his sleeping space. Aww, look how cute he is. And back to the next socks. He's too cute to stop filming. So the next finished object that I'm sharing with you today is my Every Flavour stripy socks, which you can find as a pattern on Ravelry. There's different variations of ribs, and I did a rounded toe and a fishless kiss heel on mine, which seems a little bit short. I think I should have probably have done a few more stitches in these socks. Overall, they're really nice, but I think they've stretched quite out a lot when you wear them, and I think I'd have rather had a little bit more, a few more stitches, at least maybe another 6 stitches, and these would have fit a little bit more, less tight around the foot. But they've come out really nice, I know for future, and they are definitely a favourite. So, really happy with those. And for those of you who want to see my next finished object, these are a pair of mittens. So these are from the latest issue of Pom Pom. These are the Turian mittens. And if you remember last episode, I'd knitted the Ochre Crest hat from Pom Pom Quarterly, I think it was last autumn's issue, and I had some of the yarn left over, enough in fact to make a pair of mitts, and I've got them both finished. Sorry, the camera is blowing out. I got them both finished. Ta-da! So I'm really happy with them. Love the shape, love the size, love the little detail on the palm, and they've come out really cute, and they will match my hat, which is all better. And none of the yarn really went to waste. I think I probably had a couple of grams left, so these have worked out really well. And I also stuck a little sample in my notebook. But yeah, brilliant mittens pattern if you like mittens. The only qualm that I had with these is that when I was picking up for the thumb, it only tells you to pick up 2. As you can see, there's a little tiny hole. I had to do a little bit of sewing front and back and sew up the hole slightly. I think that these mittens could have probably have taken 4 stitches picked up around that thumb, that inside of the thumb, to be honest. So in future, when I knit these, I may remember to do that and just pick up 4, and then on the next round maybe decrease those out, because it's a lovely mitten pattern, but I just felt that there was a bit of gaping on both of the mittens that I had to kind of sew up, and it does actually, you can't really tell, but it does actually spoil the gusset slightly when you know that you've had to work into that area to make it neater. So, but otherwise I love this pattern, absolutely gorgeous, and I'm happy to make it again. In fact, my mum kind of fell in love with these, so I'm kind of half debating making her a pair as well for the winter. I think she might like that. In fact, I could grab a couple of skeins, and I could always make her a hat as well to match. She's been wanting a new hat. Ideas. So those are my mittens. So that's three finished objects. So my high hat bee socks finished, and my everyday stripy socks. And these will go in my box of socks, which I haven't shared with you in quite a while. So maybe I should share that with you. So if you remember, I had a box, Dream Big, Dream Too Big, it should say. I have not got that many socks in here at all. So here is what I've got so far. So these are my Cookie A socks. These are my sample socks of the High Heart Bees. Here is just some Langy Owl, Magic, stripy, kind of rainbow socks, which I really love knitting. These are my Silver Birch socks, and my Harry Potter Yule Ball socks. Then, obviously, my second pair of High Heart Bees to go in there. And my everyday stripy socks can now also go in there. 2, 4, 6, 7. I've got 7 pair of socks. Shameful, I know. But I'm getting there. Just means I need to pick up the pace a little bit. But they're all different socks, which is great. And I am happily going to be making more socks for my box. Yay! So on to next thing, which is a little bit of stash enhancement, and I'm only showing it now because it'll be easier for me to show it separate to the things I got from Yarndale. So, and some of these things are also part and parcel of the Harvester Hat-along 2016, which is hosted by me and Twee of the Twisted Stitches podcast. Hi Twee! So, we got a lovely prize sent to us. It was not last weekend, the weekend before, because it's Monday. Today is Monday, if you're wondering what day I'm recording on. Today's Monday, and I have the week off work, which is why I've decided to do a podcast today. But we had a lovely prize package sent to us from Debbie of Down Sheepy Lane. And if you've never heard of Debbie, she is an awesome dyer and maker, creator on Etsy. And she has sent us this lovely prize package for the Harvest Hat-along. So this includes some minis, which are hand-dyed by herself, and a lovely pyramid bag, which is Cat in the Hat, Dr. Seuss, and some lovely ring stitch markers, which I really like. They're really cool. So this lovely package is going in my my basket of prizes, and this will be one of the lovely prizes for the Harvest Hat Cow. And then Debbie kindly, I met Debbie as well at Yarndale, but I'll go into who I met and things later, but she kindly sent me a few gifts for me, which is really sweet. So she sent me this, which is one of her speckly hand-dyed yarns. I'm thinking that these will make some amazing Pearl Cottage socks. So I might have to cast these on. And this is her 4-ply sparkle. 4-ply sparkle, 35%. I'm gonna have to read that. Superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% silver stellina, 100 grams, 400 meters, approximately. And is that the mudgeon colourway? I'm sorry, I'm butchering the name of that. I'm just going to show it. But this is an awesome colourway. I'm absolutely in love with this. Such beautiful, beautiful colours. Light rusty shades, pinky reds, greys. Oh, I love it. Very autumn. And sparkle. Sparkle in there. You know me and sparkles. And then she also, as well, which was really sweet, Debbie had wrapped up the things that she was sending for me. So it was like I'd got presents, whereas usually a lot of people send the prize gift wrapped up, where it makes it harder to show what I've been given. So she wrapped up my presents, which was super exciting. So it felt like a little bit like an early Christmas. But Debbie sent me a pyramid project bag as well. This one, which is awesome and Pokemon themed, and I think Debbie's got a couple of these in her shop as well, and these are like sock pyramids, so you could fit your sock project in there. There's plenty of room. And then there's also a D-ring for stitch markers and things to go on, which is awesome because I do like that feature. Like, not a lot of bags actually have that, and I do like it because I always find that sometimes I don't want to carry, especially with socks, I don't always need to carry a lot of notions with me. I can carry a set of snips on the D-ring, and I can carry some stitch markers, and that may be all I need extra to carry in one of my project bags. So that's perfect. Look how, I'm sorry, but how awesome is it that she sent me Pokemon? Come on, I love Pokemon. I keep looking at shops recently because they've been having like sweatshirts with Pikachu, but I feel like Going into my 30s, maybe a little bit, I don't know, is that a little bit strange, me wearing Pokemon sweatshirts? But absolutely love the bag. So thank you very much, Debbie. And there's a few of these in a shop. There's also some other drawstring project bags. She does stitch markers, hand-dyed yarns, minis. She has varied different qualities of yarns as well. She has speckled yarns, MCM bases, tweedy yarns, all of them which are beautiful and hand-dyed. So you should check out her shop, which is down Sheepy Lane, and she is a UK based seller, if I didn't mention. So thank you, Debbie. I've already said thank you personally, which was really nice. On to the next thing that I bought, which was a while ago and I forgot to show it. But it's nothing amazingly special, but I noticed that West Yorkshire Spinners have been doing stripy yarns, and I have been craving stripes recently. I've been on a stripy search, and then when I saw this I decided that why not just go for it and treat myself to a bit of commercial sock yarn, because why not? So this is 400 metres, 75% wool, 25% nylon, but it contains 35% Blueface Leicester wool, and these stripes are like beautiful candy colours, and I really like those. And it's the Sherbet Fizz colourway, so I don't know whether to hoard this away for next summer or whether to crack it out now, but we'll see, because I have got some other yarns that I want to knit up, with it being Halloween and autumn season, so we'll see about that. Other things to chat about is recently I've decided to start a knitting journal, which I shared with you on Instagram. I slightly shared it on Instagram, and it's just a pocket pad notebook. It's nothing special, but I figured that I'd show you what I've been doing, because this process has really helped me. I went to Yarndale on last Saturday, which was 24th, was it? 24th? 23rd, maybe. My days are all mixed up. Either way, it was a really great idea. I wrote down some project plans for September, which I'm already knitting. And then I've got a little bit of space that I'm going to write down some project plans for October. And I've put a little post-it in for approximately what I wanted to look at while I was at Yarndale, to give me an idea of things that I was wanting or wanting to check out for future purchases. Like the feel of yarns. I think you can't get an aspect of how a yarn feels just from looking at something online, and also from sometimes other people's points of views are really great. But with yarn, I'm quite a sensitive person when it comes to yarns, and so wearing itchy scratchy yarns around my neck or on my head is not something I like to do. Whereas some other people, it would not faze or bother. But when they give reviews on a yarn, if they don't express that opinion, then you kind of like slightly feel a little bit misled if you bought it and found it was itchy or something. Anyway, I really wanted to check out some yarns. So, Blacker Cornish Tin, their yarn I wouldn't get. I checked that out while I was at Yarndale, and I wasn't as keen on it as I thought I might be, because it feels really hard wearing, but it would irritate me. So I'm glad I had a list, and I narrowed that off the list. And I also went and saw the Daughter of a Shepherd yarn stand. Lovely yarn. That is created by Hebridean sheep, and this is also created by Rachel Atkinson, who is a lovely, lovely lady. I know Rachel from like Instagram and Pom Pom chatting and things like that, and she is lovely, and her yarn feels beautiful. I would say that I would knit with that. So I might check that out in the future. And just generally things, if I didn't like something, then I didn't need to get it, so I could get something else instead. And it just gave me a really good aspect of what I was doing while I was there at Yarndale. So basically I've got my future ideas for projects in here. If I've already got a yarn in my stash, then I just write it in. But I can also put like things like size, needle details, tensions, things like this, picture, so that I can quickly look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's that one. Yarn amounts and things I've put in. Like with this one, I had an idea that I wanted to get some John Arbon from what I checked out last year at Yarndale. So I put that in, and I've also put how much it would cost me, because I also checked the yarn amounts and I needed 6 skeins for this. But this is really handy, and I've added lots of future projects that I'm really looking to knit. Haven't written all the information in yet because I weren't shopping for those, but it's great to have by you just in case you do want to shop for them. The Siri cardigan is now on the top of my list. Don't know if anybody has checked this out, but it's got some gorgeous leaf detailing in the yoke. Absolutely fabulous. And there was a sample of this hung up on the Midwinter's yarn stand. It is gorgeous. So that is something to look at for the future. And I also saw some yarns that I might be wanting to get for next Yarndale, so that's next year's shopping list sorted. Next thing to chat about will be whips, I suppose. I have a few. Get my projects over here. Have a bit of a shuffle around. This is the only thing when you've got like a tiny space to work with. Like, you have to juggle everything about. So, I will just take a sip of my tea. I am drinking, let me just have it. This is gorgeous, by the way. I wish we had Tazo tea over here because I would drink this all the time. This is Tazo tea, and this is the cocoa mint mate flavour. Somebody gifted this to me. I don't know, I can't remember who it was, and they only sent me one, and I wish you'd sent me more. This is like the most amazing tea ever. I love chocolate flavoured things. I am a real sweet tooth, but the fact that it also has mint with it. I love mint flavoured teas for some reason. This is like the ultimate tea. And it's a little bit rainy and cool today, so perfect. It smells like hot chocolate, like minty hot chocolate. It's lovely. So whoever you are, kind, sweet person, thank you so much for this, for sharing this and putting this into my life. But it is such a shame that I don't have any more. But I'm really enjoying it. And I'm using my profanity mug because why not? So next things to share are my whips. Ooh, I've got a book in here. I didn't realise that. So the first things first, I've been knitting on some socks. Yay, more socks. So this is some Opal Happy yarn, which was out last winter. If you remember, it had sparkles in it. So that is these. And it is shade 9093, which is these. And I luckily found a seller online who had opened up a wool shop, or had a wool shop, but they just opened up an online shop, and she had some skeins. So I jumped on it because I've been searching for pretty much most of the year for a ball of this because I couldn't afford it last year near Christmas. So I've got this saved in my handmade DPN cozy with cats, which I've just learned how to do, which is quite cool. And I'm doing a vanilla sock, but the sock is called Dave, which is by Rachel Coopy, and it's you can do a heel flap or an afterthought heel, and I've never done an afterthought heel, so I decided that it would be the perfect chance to have a go. Tried them on, they fit lovely. The heel is worked in the round with a star heel, which looks, I was saying at Yarndale this weekend, it looks a little bit like a nipple. Please don't judge. And you draw up the centre rather than like grafting it off or anything. You draw up the centre like a hat. And when I tried it on, the drawn up centre does not sit in a funny place on my foot. It sits right at the back of the heel, but on a section of the heel that doesn't really touch the floor. So it's quite nicely kept out of the way and doesn't bother or hinder when I'm walking or standing, which is really good. So they're coming out super cool. To keep my colour pattern from going down the foot, I have got my yarn caked up. Let me just separate and tangled slightly. So what I did there was I have my yarn taken from the centre, I turned it upside down and unravelled from the outside edge. Basically so they wouldn't get tangled up with this one. So if I had that flat on the table, I pulled from the top and around and I worked the heel with that end, which was a really great idea. And then I turned it back the other way when I've started back on my foot. What I did was I decided that rather than wait till I get right to the opposite end, I worked 10 rounds of my foot of the sock, then did my heel, because then I can measure better the distance from the back of my heel down my foot for when I do my toe. So I just did 10 rounds and then I left it there and slipped on the stitches for my heel onto needles, unpicked the heel, the thread that you put in for the afterthought heel, put both stitches on each side on a new needles, and did the heel. And I love it. I will probably do this again because it's been quite fun. It's just been really nice to do something a little bit more interesting, but not too interesting. So it's been really simple and enjoyable, but with a new detail to me that I've really enjoyed it. So I started on my other sock. I'm working on the leg still, and I've got this week off, so I'm hoping that I'll get a bit further on those in hope to get them kind of finished. I keep getting blown out a little bit. I think it's because I'm sitting too close. So that's my, these are the Dave socks by Rachel Coopy, but I'm calling them my Mexican blanket socks because they look like Mexican blankets, and I love that. We have a Mexican blanket in our car. We have an old retro car, and we have a Mexican blanket in the back covering the back seats, and I just love that it kind of matches that same look. I do apologise for the camera, it keeps slightly blowing out. It's really upsetting me. The next project that I've been working on is a pattern by Renee Callahan, and I just had a little bit of an annoyance with this cardigan, just due to the fact that I've never really knitted one of Renee's patterns, and so it was quite highly frustrating when I was knitting it, because I had a few moments where I had to redo things and meh. But it wasn't through any fault of Renee's, it was through me not reading patterns properly. But here is my Angelus Novus cardigan. It's coming on, it's getting there. I haven't worked on it this past week, so there isn't a huge amount of progress, but I've got one side done. I'm doing the back side, and then I'll be going on to the other front. And the construction is really interesting for this and really enjoyable. The only thing that I'd mention, which was the part that I seem to struggle with, is the fact that when I was knitting this, I didn't realise that Renee puts, well, I did realise to start with when I was knitting on the back, realised that Renee puts her inches before her centimetres. By the time I got to the front, I'd forgotten this factor, so I didn't do the right amount of depth in my fronts. So I was like, oh, I was super annoyed. I had to rip back and redo sections, and really frustrating. But it's not Renee's fault, it's just my fault. My stupidity did not reread the pattern appropriately. I read the sections and looked at the numbers rather than glancing at the numbers. You should read the information that comes afterwards. Stupid me. But I'm getting there and I'm really happy, and this was some sample yarn that I got from the lovely Helen of the Wool Kitchen. I got 3 skeins of this yarn and it is amazing. I know that a lot of people say like that you have to use 1 skein, use 2 skeins together and stripe them. I'm not doing that with this, but I don't think that it actually alters the yarn at all, so I'm not really that bothered either way, to be honest. I think that the lovely darker flecks in the yarn are really nicely spread apart, and there's no unevenness in colour because it's a batch, so I'm quite happy to just carry on not striping, because ends and swapping 2 skeins every 2 minutes, especially because I've only got 3 skeins, that makes it really uneven. How am I meant to swap between three skeins of yarn through a project? Anyway, I'd have to do some winding and faffing, and I'm not doing that. So that's my Angelus Novus cardigan, which I'm keeping in my Bird Street UK bag, which lovely Claire of Bird Street UK, her Etsy store, if you want to check it out. She also has offered one of these for the Harvest Hat-along prize, so that's also super exciting. And I wanted to say thank you to everybody who has been joining in the Harvest Hat-along, because there has been so many of you. There are so many FOs already in the FO thread, and it's getting really exciting, and it's just really nice to see. So thank you guys for really participating and just knitting away. I'm really enjoying it too, and I've got so many hats now that I really want to knit. One of the hats that I'm working on is this one. Adelaide, is it? This is patterned by Anna Maltz, which is here, which is, her Instagram is Sweater Spotter, and this is a lovely pattern. I am doing the stripy version, and I love this lady's pink hair, and so I decided to do a coralled edge, cast on edge on my version. But this is just some scraps that I actually have in my stash, and it's really nothing special. It's just some old scraps that I had lying around. So I think the coral edge is actually just some Sirdar snuggly, but I just liked the neon peach, and usually when I want to try something out, I usually use it and knit out of it because it's pretty and bright. But yeah, both of these yarns I think are possibly just a random ball of Sirdar. Might be country style, I'm not sure. But I've just had this in my stash for so long, hidden away in a drawer, to be honest, and I don't like wastage, and I figured I probably wouldn't use it for anything else. But for a hat, I don't mind at all, and especially for a stripy hat, these colours work so well together. So yeah, really loving that. I love the fact that this colour here is like a, oh, you can't really see on the picture, but it's like a dove grey. It's like a little bit blue, and it's really cute. And the charcoaly grey really goes nicely with it. But I can't wait to have this done, and this construction is kind of like a helmet, a vintage baby helmet pattern, and it's really interesting. You kind of do decreases to start with in the moss stitch section, and then you go to having decreases with matching increases to keep the hat straight, and then you'll obviously have your cramp shaping. So it's really quite cool how it works. And so I'm quite enjoying that, but I haven't done much on that either this week because I've been working on my mittens. I've also had a few days where I've not even really done any projects whatsoever. Not because I didn't want to, it's just I weren't in the frame of mind or mood to really knit on anything else. So I'm going to sit back a little bit, see if that really helps the camera from blowing out. It might not, to be honest. So I'm just going to take a quick pause while I move things around a little bit, and then we will come back and talk about some other things. Right, so I am back. I wanted to share some things with you that I got from Yarndale. So this is like the Yarndale experience section. So first things first, I went to Yarndale on Saturday only. I didn't go for the 2 days. I live quite locally, but me and my partner had plans on the Sunday to go to a record fair. But I only usually go for 1 day, and with my foot being really bad this year, although it's getting loads better now, I didn't want to push it too much. But I am so glad that I got to go because it was kind of like a little bit of therapy that I really needed, and it made me feel a bit more me this week. So I went really early and queued up, and last year the queue was so tiny when I got there. There was maybe about 15 people, like a handful of people. When I arrived this year, the queue was around the corner, nearly. So the amount of people that were there this Saturday for the show was way different to the previous year. In fact, I was speaking to the pom-pom ladies who were there last year, and they got lots of knitting done last year on the Saturday. This year, none. They were crazy busy. It was mental all day, and yeah, there was definitely time where you could barely move around midday. Thankfully, there was the kind of unofficial Instagram-y kind of meetup outside at lunchtime, so I took my pre-bought sandwich and drink outside onto the lawn and met a few friends. So I'd like to say hello to Debbie of Down Sheepy Lane, because I met Debbie and she was really lovely and sweet, and we saw each other from afar, and I was kind of wondering, looking around for somebody that I knew, and I knew Debbie, and so I was really excited, and we ran over and had a hug and had a little chatter. And then also lovely Wendy Woo Knits on Instagram also came over and said hello, and we spent a good while chattering and talking about yarn and all sorts of lovely things. And then also Wendy introduced me to a few of her friends, and one of those ladies I already kind of slightly knew on Instagram but I hadn't really chatted to, so that was really sweet. And another lady that had come all the way from, I think, Rotterdam, I think it was. Either way, like Amsterdam, kind of Netherlands-y area. And that was really lovely as well. So I made a couple of new friends, which was really sweet. And then after that, obviously, I went back in shopping. I wasn't in very long after that when I decided to check my phone to see if Will or my mum had messaged me back, because I sent them a couple of messages through the day. And when I checked my phone, I had an Instagram message from Danny of Little Bobbins saying, I'll hope to see you there. And I was like, what? No way. And I didn't want to miss the chance of meeting with Danny. So I decided to send her a message on Instagram saying, "Are you here? And where are you?" And she sent me a message back saying, "I am, I've just arrived, where are you?" So I told her I was outside the Killtocraft stand, and luckily Danny was just round the corner near the Knitters Lounge, and she came round, and it was so lovely. It was like seeing a friend I hadn't seen in years, and we had a big cuddle and we shopped together, and it was so nice. So hiya Danny. She was the most loveliest person to meet and to natter with. We chatted projects that we've worked on previously, but we basically just chatted yarns that we were seeing and bought a few things together, and it was just really nice. So I spent like 2.5 hours with Danny, and it was the best 2.5 hours I could have had. It was amazing. And whilst we were looking around, we then also bumped into Lee of the Luli podcast and Amy of Stranded Dye Works, which was awesome. So if you follow my Instagram, you will see the photo that me, Danny and Amy had together. That was really lovely. Amy is so nice and upbeat and cheerful. She was great. Hiya Amy. And then Danny had said to me before we saw Amy that she'd already seen Lee. I was like, excuse me? She'd not told me she was coming. Where is she, I wonder? And while we were having a look around, we managed to spot her having a look around with her mum. So that was super sweet. So I got to meet Lee as well, which was really lovely, because we chat her a lot on Instagram and we private message each other sometimes as well. And so it was so much of a delight to meet you finally. So I've met so many lovely friends this weekend that I was buzzing all Saturday when I got home, and it wasn't just because I bought yarn. That was like the second best bit, which is crazy to say when you go to a yarn show. That was the second best bit of my show for me. The first bit was meeting all of these lovely people that I wasn't even expecting to see at all. Like, I knew Amy was going the day before because she'd posted up a picture in Skipton, but I had no idea that Lee was there and Danny was there, because they just, out of the blue, just decided to come along for a day trip. So it was just exciting, super exciting, and I can't wait to see Danny again in the future, because she was really lovely. Sorry, my alarm went on my phone there and kind of cut me up a little bit. But as I was saying, it was a really great day and I had a blast. So much so that I didn't sleep till really late on Saturday, because I was still sat around buzzing about how much fun I had. Will went to bed probably about 11 because he was tired, and I was still up till probably just turned 12. I had to have a cup of calming tea to bring me down, and to watch a podcast to kind of relax me a little bit, because otherwise I'd have been still jumping around the living room with excitement. So, stash things that I bought. I have been planning a cable sweater, and I think I posted something on Instagram, so a lot of you will have seen that. One of them I already had yarn for, two of them I don't. One of them is a Vika sweater, which I really fell in love with on Brooklyn Tweed's new collection. A really nice, big, slouchy, baggy, cozy sweater with a kind of a stand-up neck, but it's not really close. It's not like a polo neck, it's not close, it's not neck hugging, where it looks really nice, and with the right yarn I can't wait to knit that. But I also wanted yarn for this, which is kind of what I was planning on getting. This is the Quadrillion sweater, which is by Megan Fernandez of Pom Pom Quarterly. She's one of the editors of Pom Pom. This has been one of my favourite sweaters ever since I started following Pom Pom, and when I first bought my first Pom Pom issue, it was possibly the autumn issue of 2014, and they still had a couple of copies of this left in the shop, and I was lucky enough to grab one. So this is the earliest pom-pom magazine that I have, and I have every one from then. So this is issue 6. I don't have the ones before that, but I will be downloading them at some point. So I was planning to get a quantity for the quadrillion sweater, and last year at Yarndale I touched the John Arbon yarn a little bit too late. I'd already bought a lot of things that I intended on buying, but I didn't have enough of a budget to then be able to really buy a sweater quantity of John Arbon, and I was really super upset because it wasn't just the Knit by Numbers range that I was wanting, it was the slightly more expensive Viola range, which I noticed Katie of Inside 23 got to purchase at Fibre East, and she also pretty much said exactly what I thought about it, that I loved the hues of the colour. You can see so many different colours in there because it's slightly heathered, and it's really autumnal and beautiful, and it has depth, and I think with a cabled sweater it is gonna look stunning. When I went to last year's Yarndale and saw this yarn, I fell in love and really, really wanted some. So rather than buying it online, I wanted to buy it when I was there and I could feel it and touch it and see it. And so that's what I did. So my first stand that I hit after seeing the pom-pom ladies on their stand was the John Arbon stand, and I pretty much just went straight there because I didn't want to get there and find that other people had bought sweater quantities of it and I couldn't get the colour that I wanted, so I made sure I got in there first. Everybody else seemed to be looking at the Knit by Numbers, so I was in good position. There was nobody by the Viola section, and I took priority standing position and found that 2 of the skeins that I picked up, they both had different batch numbers, but I managed to find 6 whole skeins of the same batch number. This is the, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. This is the Viola John Arbon tag. It's 100% merino wool and it's colour blended. By Viola, which, oh god, which it says there. So I really fell in love with this yarn, and when I got there they only had, I think it was like a brown, a slightly rusty orange shade. Oh no, it was the brown was the slightly orange rusty shade. They had a burgundy colour, a grey colour, and the blue colour. And I felt like I've already got a grey sweater, which is my chickadee sweater. I also bought red for my Maud. I bought red drops Lima for my Maud sweater that I intended on making. So I didn't want anything the same. But then I thought to myself, I've been wearing a lot of like navy colours recently, blues, and also blue goes really great with jeans. So I fell for the North Sea colourway, which is this. This is gorgeous. Absolutely stunning yarn, really beautiful. I've caked one of them up, already intending on starting my project, but this is the yarn. This is really good colour representation of the yarn, and it is absolutely stunningly soft. I can knit with rougher yarns, but I can't wear them against my skin. My neck, my chest, my head, wherever I'm wearing it will itch like crazy. This yarn is not like that. It's a DK weight yarn. 100 gram skein has 250 meters, and it's 24 stitches, 31 rows to 4 inches on a 3 to a 4 millimeter needle, so check your tension. But absolutely stunning. Kind lady, I can't remember her name. I follow John Arben as well on Instagram, but they gave me this lovely John Arben bag to fit my skeins in, which I thought was really sweet. And of course I needed a rather big quantity. You sometimes think that when you look at the big skeins of yarn that I'll probably only need like 4. No, I needed 6. So I've got 5 here and 1 skeined up. That seems like a really big purchase when it's your first purchase. 6 skeins of sweater yarn, where it's amazing sweater yarn, and I can't wait to knit with it. So I'm going to be checking my tension later and checking some of my pattern tension. I've worked out that I should have about 150 metres left, which could also make me a hat to match my sweater, which would be really lovely, and I'd look forward to having a matching hat as well. So that was my first purchase of the weekend, which I'd already planned way before I was even at Yarndale. This was happening. So now I've got that. Next time when I go, I can treat myself to a different colour if I wanted, or a different yarn brand altogether. So the next thing I purchased at Yarndale was, I've been looking for stripy sock yarn, and I keep mentioning how awesome hand dyers like Jinshana and nomadic yarns, but to get them over here costs like a small fortune. So when I saw that Truly Hooked was going, she does some gorgeous sock yarns in general, and I got really excited. And then I saw on her Instagram and Facebook page that she'd done a few stripy yarns. So I got super excited. So this is what I got. Truly Hooked. She's from Nottingham, England. She's a hand dyer. And this is the Bride of Frankenstein colourway. 425 metres, so 100 gram skein, and it's just superwash, merino and nylon. But how awesome is that? If you remember as well, I got a sock blank from Andy of Andre Sue Knits, and that sock blank has Frankenstein and his bride on. So I kind of feel like my Halloween is full of Frankenstein. But when I saw this in the basket, this one had to come home with me because it's Halloween themed, and that's what I really wanted, was a stripy Halloween sock yarn. I love Halloween so much. It's my favourite season, like celebration, should I say, of the year. So I'm looking forward to knitting with that. And then I purchased, next up was, I knew I bought this last year, which is gorgeous, with these flecks of like corally, peachy, orangey tonal sections. And this was from Natural Born Dyers. So it's a hand dyed sock yarn, and it's gorgeous. And I know it's a high twist yarn, which is slightly different from the minis I have got because it's not a high twist, but they will look fantabulous together. So I picked up the 5 Moons gradient set. These are moon phases, and you get 5 different shades of graduated mini skeins in the Lunar Plus 4-ply, and this is the succulent set. So I get 100 grams, which is 425 metres. Each skein is approximately 20 grams, which is 85 metres, and these are 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, hand dyed in Devon. I've been looking online at these for months, and I mean months. I went to Yarndale last year and was looking at these, but had no plan whatsoever. I'd just bought this. Not really thinking any further. And then I also, whilst I was at Yarndale last year, bought this book by Coop Knits. Now inside is a design I absolutely fell in love with. well, I fell in love with a lot of designs in here, to be honest. These are the Otis socks. How amazing are they? When I saw this, I was thinking rather than beige, the navy would look amazing. And then I realised that I should have bought a gradient set from 5 Moons. Why did I not pick one up? But I didn't want to just buy one online again. I wanted to be able to see them up close again. So I've waited all year for this and treated myself to an orange set to match with the highlights of the hand-dyed sock yarn that I purchased. And I'm going to be making the Otis socks. So that was another plan that I aimed for my knitting future. Really pleased with that purchase, and I think in future I might even get some more 5 Moons. They do 50-gram skeins and their colours are just beautiful, they're amazing. Not quite the last purchase of the day, but one of the last couple of purchases was me and Danny hit the Knitting Goddess stand, which I'd already kind of hit twice that day, but couldn't quite decide on anything. I just kept looking at the stuff and going, oh, so pretty. I've been watching this morning Thimble and Thread Makes, and Tracy has just been to Yarndale and picked up some of the DK speckled yarn, and I kept looking at that as well, thinking, ooh, could I, couldn't I? But I kind of fell in love with 2 other yarns as well. So this is the Knitting Goddess, which is hand dyed in Harrogate, and I bought the same colour as Tracy. In fact, this one is the charcoal colourway. This is hand dyed 100% Blueface Leicester DK. The wool is sourced from the UK and processed in the UK and spun in West Yorkshire. It's 100 grams, 225 metres per skein, and their yarns are really nicely dyed and really so nicely affordable. This skein only costs $12.50, which I think is amazing for a hand-dyed DK weight skein. This is intended for my partner. I'm going to make him a lovely new hat for winter. And then I also picked up this pink lovely skein of Brit sock. This is hand-dyed 4-ply Brit sock, and I picked this. There was 2 different versions of sock, but the other one was just a merino and nylon. And when I felt this was much more softer. But this is 40% British Falkland Polwarth, 20% British Wensleydale, and 20% British Alpaca, and 20% nylon. The Wensleydale and alpaca fibres are sourced from UK flocks and processed in the UK and custom spun for us in Devon. This is 100 grams, 400 metres per skein, and this is a semi-solid, and this is a coral colourway. I think that it was only £3 more for me to get this skein, and it was gorgeous, woolly, and look at the colour. The colours were identical even in the different base, but the softness and woolliness, these are going to make some gorgeous winter socks. So that's socks for me for the future. And I will definitely be shopping again with Knitting Goddess. I've been wanting to find some really nice British yarns that I can love and knit with, and I'm going to Yarndale this year. I've spotted quite a few, and some of them as well I'd really like to support, and I think the Knitting Goddess is one of them, definitely. Especially since I'm supposed to be budgeting myself in future, and what's $12.50 between friends, right? So those were 2 of my last lovely treats whilst me and Danny were shopping, and I'm so glad that I picked those 2 up. And then I also went back to the Killtocraft stand to get myself a whip tool, which is to help me with my spinning consistency, and it's just like a check-in gauge basically. I like that when I can ply my yarn that I can check where it is just with this tool rather than knitting a swatch and seeing what I knit it at. But it's great for it just to have an idea before I actually start testing my gauge of what I should be knitting it with needles wise, and this helps with that. So I got one of these, and I'd really been wanting one of those. It also gives you an idea of how many wraps per inch for different yarns, and that's your wrap per inch gauge. And then this is to check the thickness of your yarn. So really great tool, and I really wanted one of these, so I'm super happy about getting one. I also noticed as well that the Killtocraft have their own drop spindles, which are really light and not overly expensive, so I might have to go online and treat myself to one of those in the future, in the near future. So that's all that I bought from Yarndale. I don't think I did too bad, and I actually came home with money. Can you believe it? Sorry that my camera keeps blowing out. So I had a really amazing time, and I hope that next year I might be able to meet up with a few of the similar faces from this year, and maybe some new ones, because that'd be super exciting too. So thank you for joining me for an update of all of my knitting and all of my beautiful yarn buying. It has been a fun episode. I've really enjoyed catching up with you guys, and I hope you enjoy what you see. If you do, please subscribe, like or share my episode, and I'd love to see you all joining in on the Killtocraft Podcast Group, where with the Harvest Hat Along, or just in general come over and have a chatter. So again, thank you, and I will see you in a few weeks' time. Bye!